This particular product is it is a repurposed drug, originally an intravenous injection. It has been converted into a topical gel for diabetic foot ulcer. A product like this has never ever come before from India. So the example of Ipca's earlier success with the inflammation drug is it's an oral drug applied in new indication as an oral drug. Here the drug was intravenous injection converted into a topical gel in a new disease area, thereby enabling the company to get global patents. So Novalid holds the global patents for this particular drug. This is probably the first of its kind in India's history of 77 years of independence.
Excuse me, sir. You mean to say this is an externally applied gel?
Yes.
And it will be available everywhere in all the drugstores or what?
This availability will not be issued. We just launched. Across the country we have 4,000 dealers. These type of products are required basically where the doctors are practicing. It's not with every retailers. So I think 2 zone already it's very good number of doctors available. So maybe another 10 to 15 days it's really available. It's not an issue.
And any side effects?
There's no side effect. When you see the number of doctors, we done a survey because this is the one specialty which is not like it's not like a pediatric or physicians. There's some of physicians are doing this practice, some surgeons are doing this, some of vascular surgeons also. So total in the country there are 2,400 doctors those treat this diabetic foot ulcer because we collect this data from the doctor who treat diabetes. When the patient come with the food where they recommend. So we will definitely in the first phase goes to all the doctors to promote this product. And later on we'll expand and we have to create the noise how to save food. So we want that to go to a common man, and I think that this press conference will definitely help because patient as of today is not aware about that because they know if there is a diabetic foot ulcer, they know somebody who lost the foot 2 years back, they will also go on this, but this will really save a foot and we'll work on that. Thank you.
So just want to ask you, this is Vishwanath from Economic Times. So what is the standard of care for diabetic foot ulcer right now?
Well, the standard of care as per the international standards is cleaning the wound twice with saline water, removing the necrotic tissue around the wound if there is any, and then bandaging the wound in a moist environment. This is all that is done as standard of care. More importantly, the doctors prescribe that the blood glucose levels have to be controlled very strictly. Otherwise, the already existing diabetic foot ulcer worsens very, very rapidly. So the idea is control the blood sugar and do this bandaging twice, as just I mentioned.
So like how many days this?
This you have to continue doing. This standard of care you have to keep doing because the wound doesn't heal. That is the problem. So that is just wound management, so that it doesn't get to amputation stage. With the drug Dialcus, the idea is to completely heal the wound, so that it doesn't, the question of worsening and leading to amputation does not arise.
So is there antibiotic topicals don't work here?
No. So there are diabetic foot ulcers. When they happen, they are not infected. But as the wound remains open because it is not getting closed, it's prone to infection. When it gets infected, then the all the anti-infectives etc. are used, but they don't heal the wound. See, the whole idea is if you keep the wound open, it will always be open to infection. Idea is to heal the wound, and this drug is expected to do that.
And at what stage it leads to gangrene, sir?
Well, infected wound which is not treated ultimately leads to gangrene.
See, what I was addressing about that is that you have to address the circulation, because it's basically neuropathy where sensation is gone, protective sensation. The patient doesn't realize that he is injuring himself So there is a sensory component of the neuropathy, there is a motor component of the neuropathy. So you know the foot gets also deformed. So it is sort of this. So this creates a pressure at certain points in the foot, and that is the point where the most ulcers will take place on that valve. So you have to relieve that pressure. Proper foot care also is becoming very important part of that. So pressure offloading becomes very important, and so gangrene occurs because there is no circulation. So dead tissue is called as gangrene. So when that part is and it at the circulation is compromised, then it is infected, and that creates a great problem, and that is responsible for the amputation of these persons. So preventing this is very important. So like he mentioned, most of the local treatment, you have to take care of the wound. There are local antiseptics are there. You have to clean the wound daily. Twice daily dressing is required. So all this is very cumbersome. So it adds a lot of burden on the patient and relatives as well as on the healthcare system. So it's very important that prevention is, that is why given much more emphasis there. So you inspect the peripheral pulsation, see how much there is circulation there, and you check pulse in the hand. You can also check your downward pulses. You can do ultrasound and see how much is the circulation compromised. As I was mentioning, that we also have another drug which is being marketed by IPCA in another division called as Cilostazol, which comes with the brand name Zilas, and that drug addresses the peripheral circulation as well. So it is important that we address the not just topical therapy is going to help. You may require even serious antibiotics and hospital admission to treat diabetic foot infection often, because you just seeing the sight of the foot will frighten you. That this is the type of complication which takes place. It's a very deadly complication, diabetic foot disease, and so whole emphasis on prevention, and then comprehensive management. Manage glucose, blood glucose very well. Manage the circulation to the extent you can, and if required, the vascular surgeons are also called in to help in those who have very severely compromised vascular functions, and neuropathy part also you need to manage. So this is all comprehensive management, not just local management is very important to understand.
So one more, at what price are you launching this, and how many? What is the time period for this therapy?
I let that question be answered by Mr. Ghui, but before that I just want to add one point, that post amputation the mortality rate is 40%. 5-year mortality after amputation is 40%. So you understand what is the level of risk that is involved in getting the foot amputated, right? So idea is that with the application of this drug, we do not let the diabetic foot ulcer reach the amputation level at all, because the wound gets closed.
Why this mortality is high? Because the person has peripheral artery disease, also is likely to have coronary artery disease. Okay, so this is where this takes place.
Sir, if somebody has got the gangrene, then also this is going to help them out?
No, at the gangrene level, you have to address that with the vascular surgeons and everything. But at the only ulcer level, where it is going to help.
And what stage? What stage?
If applied, then
See, it should be meant for initial stages where there is no deep ulcer, there is no infection. So if infection is there, then infection should be treated first, and then this should be applied. So it is very important. One of the important precautions is that don't apply when the foot is infected. So first treat the infection, and once the infection has recovered, then only you apply this product at the site.
Sir, this is Nagesh from.
This problem may be.
Yeah, so ideally, let's go with the evidence available in clinical phase 3, right? In phase 3, we have done the studies up to 12 weeks. Within 12 weeks, 60% of the ulcers got completely closed. So we would like to believe that within 12 week period, almost any patient who has to get a benefit would get. But then there is a second data that after 12 weeks, for further 12 weeks if we observe, and additional 12% patients got completely healed. So basically I would say that between 12 to 24 weeks is the period where almost anybody who has to get a benefit out of the drug would get it.
Sir, there is a question. I have a question about: is this the only drug available in the market? This is Nagesh from Healthcare Ideas. Because I remember a company from Pune, another company, I don't maybe it's the same company. V Life had introduced a similar drug some 12-15 years ago.
Very fine. So we are V Life also. So V Life got merged into Novalite Pharma. So V Life was first founded by me in 2002. Then I founded Novalite Pharma in 2008. V Life got merged into Novalite Pharma. So you are very, thank you very much for remembering V Life. It's real life.
Hello,
sir. Anjali Singh this side
Who's
from
now?
Business Standard. Coming back to
आपने
the
मुझे तो
price
पूछा।
point and also other plans to export.
In India, we launched and the price is 10 gram is 1365 rupees, and it's depend upon the size of the wound that what is going to be consumed. So if you see the cost overall, it is not very costly as compared to what are the others. But I cannot compare with like Betadine and all.
Close to almost around 13 crore we have paid to them for licensing. Thereafter, as the sales build up, there is also certain other milestone built up in the agreement. And at the same time, they will also be getting royalties also on the product. So that is the reward they will get for their research work as per the part of agreement.
सर आजकल सर न्यू बेबी बोर्न होता है उसको भी डायबिटीज होता है तो वो क्या रीज़न है सर और 100% में 99% लोगों को डायबिटीज आज की तारीख में बताया जा रहा है तो सर इसका क्या रीज़न है और 100% डायबिटीज ही हो ही रहा है सबको
नहीं 100% तो नहीं मैंने वैसे बताया 27% of the Indian population has either pre-diabetes or diabetes which is very high. Actually, what you are alluding to the newborns and all that is actually basically genetically driven. So those are genetically driven diabetes which you can do the chromosomal studies and find out which type of diabetes it is and how it is working. So that's one part. So major part is type 2 diabetes almost close to 90-95% and other 5 to 10% part in India fortunately type 1 diabetes is not so high but the incidence is increasing where it is taking place juvenile, earlier it used to be referred to as juvenile diabetes, where the beta cells of the pancreas are destroyed because of the autoimmunity. So this is autoimmune disease where immunity is supposed to fight the outside infections and other things. But when immunity is directed towards its own cells, you get disease like rheumatoid arthritis, you get disease like type 1 diabetes or juvenile diabetes where pancreatic beta cells are destroyed. So this is the type 1 diabetes. But the most worrying part is the type 2 diabetes which is exploding in our country and the genesis of that is actually also came out in the same ICMR INDIAP study which came in which was published in the Lancet journal where the most important part is that visceral adiposity, visceral or abdominal adiposity and it was first it came in 1980s when I was working in Nair Hospital. At that time, this came in the journal that Indians who are there in UK and US or European countries and the US, as compared to Caucasians, their doctors found that Indians are more prone to diabetes. So it's a combination of genetically prone plus lifestyle. So lifestyle uncovers the diabetes. And they found that Indians were less obese than the Europeans. Indians were non-smokers more compared to the Europeans, but still Indians were getting heart disease early and diabetes also early in that NRI population. And they found that the obesity of the Indians is centered around the tummy. So it is called as central obesity. So the worrying part is that at that time when say 25-30 years ago, a cardiologist used to see just 2-3 patients of diabetes in his OPD. Now he is saying every second, third patient is diabetic. So this has led to the emergence of a new specialty, cardiodiabetology. So this is where you have. So in the ICMR INDIAP survey, where 27% of the Indians had impaired glucose metabolism or impaired glucose homeostasis, about 28% Indians are obese. And 40% Indians have abdominal obesity or central obesity, and this is linked to the generation of future development of type 2 diabetes. So this is the worrying part. Though we have 27% of glucose metabolism disturbance, but we have 40% Indians who are obese from the viscera. So Indians, the obesity is around the tummy, which is much harmful as compared to obesity which takes place in the hips. That is not that is found to be protective rather than harmful. So here, it is this is where we are worried. So we should prevent obesity, because this fatty tissue which is deposited in the pancreas, in the liver, it is called as ectopic fat. Fat from the fatty tissue to going to the organs. So this is responsible for fatty liver. So all these complications which are taking place, these are taking place due to visceral adiposity, and it is giving rise to inflammation. And that is why the need to address this inflammation is there, what I was referring.
Thank you.